Pack your things. A small bag. You are leaving this house tonight.
Mama, has something happened to Emeka?
Nothing has happened to my son. You are a bad...
There is a saying that every disappointment is a blessing. Ifoma lived through that saying, not as words on a page, but as a midnight rain, a closed door, and a baby on her chest with nowhere to go. But before we get into the full story, drop your country flag in the comments right now. I want to know where in the world you are watching from. Every single flag. Let me see you. And if you are not subscribed yet, do it now, because the story you are about to hear is one you will want to share.
Her name was Ifoma, 28 years old, new mother, wife of 2 years to a man named Chukwuemeka, Emeka for short, a quiet, ambitious man who worked for an engineering firm and had recently been posted to the United Kingdom for a 6-month contract. Before he left, he had kissed her forehead, touched the cheek of their sleeping 3-month-old daughter, Adeze, and said the words that husbands say when they are about to be very far away. "Take care of yourself," he said softly. "I will call every day." He did not call every day, but that is a different part of the story. Ifoma lived in the family house in Enugu, a solid compound with a green gate and a pawpaw tree in the yard that Emeka's late father had planted 30 years ago. It was a good house, a full house, and at the center of that house, ruling it the way certain women rule certain spaces, with absolute authority and very little noise, was Mama Emeka. Her full name was Lolo Ngozi Okafor. 61 years old, sharp eyes, sharper tongue, a woman who had raised 4 children alone after her husband died and had never once let any of them forget the weight of that sacrifice. From the very first day Ifoma entered that compound as a wife, Lolo Ngozi had watched her the way a hawk watches something it has not yet decided about. It started with small things. The way Lolo Ngozi would rearrange the kitchen after Ifoma had organized it. The way she would take Adeze from Ifoma's arms without asking, as though the baby belonged more to the family than to her mother. The comments at dinner, soft, smiling, sharp as needles. "Ifoma, is this how your mother taught you to cook ofe onugbu? Because in this family, we use more crayfish." Or, "You are sleeping too late. A good wife wakes before the house." Ifoma bore it. She bore it the way young wives in that kind of house learn to bear things, quietly, with a straight back and a full heart, telling herself that patience was a form of strength. But Lolo Ngozi was not interested in patience. She was building a case. And one night, 3 weeks after Emeka left for the UK, she presented it. It was 11:45 at night. Ifoma was in the bedroom nursing Adeze when she heard the knock. Not a gentle knock, the kind of knock that does not ask, it announces. She opened the door, and Lolo Ngozi was standing there in her wrapper and head tie, 2 of her younger sons, Emeka's brothers, visible behind her in the corridor like shadows. "Ma?" Ifoma said, confused, pulling her robe tighter. "Is everything—"
Pack your things.
Lolo Ngozi said flatly. Ifoma blinked. "I'm sorry?" "I said pack your things." The older woman's voice did not rise. It did not need to.
A small bag. You are leaving this house tonight.
Ifoma felt the world tilt slightly. Mama, what has happened?
Has something happened
Has something happened to Emeka?
Nothing has happened to my son.
Nothing has happened to my son, Lolo Ngozi said, stepping into the room uninvited, her eyes moving around it the way eyes move around a room they are reclaiming. "What is happening is that you are a bad influence in this house. You are filling my son's head with your ambitions, your ideas, your this and your that. I have spoken with him. He agrees it is best you go and clear your head. This is our family house. Without Emeka here, you have no right to remain." The words landed one by one like stones. "You spoke with Emeka?" Ifoma whispered. "He agreed to this?" Lolo Ngozi said nothing, which was itself an answer. Ifoma looked down at Adeze, still feeding, completely unaware, her tiny fist curled against her mother's chest. And something inside Ifoma, something that had been bending quietly for months, went very, very still. She did not shout. She did not cry. She did not beg. She packed a bag. The taxi that night smelled of air freshener and old leather. Adeze slept through the whole ride. Ifoma sat with her eyes forward and her jaw set, and let 2 silent tears fall, just 2, before she wiped her face and made herself a promise. She was not sure yet what the promise was, but she felt it settle into her bones like something permanent. Her cousin Ada took them in that first night, a small apartment in Agbani Road, 1 bedroom, a curtain for a partition, a mattress on the floor. "How long?" Ada asked, her voice careful. "I don't know," Ifoma said honestly. She called Amaka the next morning. His phone rang 4 times and went to voicemail. She called again. Same thing. She sent a message. He replied 6 hours later, 3 sentences. "I know. Mama told me. Just give it time. Just give it time." Ifoma read those words 3 times. Then she put the phone face down on the mattress, looked at Adeze sleeping beside her, and said out loud, to no one, to herself, to the ceiling, "All right then." Let me tell you how Ifoma started her business, because this is the part people skip over when they tell this kind of story. They jump from the pain to the success as though nothing happened in between. But everything happened in between. She started with data bundles. It sounds small. It was small. She had worked briefly at a telecoms office before her marriage, and she knew the wholesale rates, knew the margins, knew that the students and traders and Okada riders in that neighborhood were buying data from vendors who barely understood what they were selling. She started from her phone, bought wholesale, resold at margin, sent codes through WhatsApp. Her first customer was Ada's neighbor, a student who needed 1 gigabyte. "How much?" the boy asked. $350, Ifoma said. He looked at her. "The woman downstairs charges $400. "I know," Ifoma said, and smiled. He became her first regular customer. Then he told his friends. Then his friends told their friends. By the end of the first week, she had made 9,000 naira. By the end of the second week, 14. She moved into her own room, a single room with a ceiling fan and a window that faced a wall, when Adeze was 4 months old. She used part of her earnings and part of what remained of her personal savings. She sat on the floor of that empty room with Adeze in her lap and looked at the bare walls and said, "This is ours." The months that followed were not easy. Let nobody tell you they were easy. There were nights when Adeze was sick and there was no one to call. Nights when the numbers in her small notebook did not add up, and she sat with her pen hovering over the page, not knowing whether what she was doing was courage or foolishness. Emeka called sometimes. He sent money, inconsistently. He said the situation was complicated. He said his mother was his mother. He said these things in a voice that told Ifoma he had already chosen, even if he had not yet said so. She stopped waiting for him to choose differently. Instead, she chose herself. At 8 months, she registered a business name, Ife Connect. Her cousin helped with the paperwork. The day the certificate arrived, Ada made jollof rice, and they ate it on the floor of Ifoma's 1-room apartment while Adeze banged a plastic cup on the tiles, and they laughed until they cried. At 14 months, she rented a small shop near a bus park, half of a container, a whiteboard outside with her rates. A young man named Ifanyi, who had been buying from her for months and knew the business almost as well as she did. "You're hiring me?" Ifanyi asked, looking at the container shop, clearly trying to be polite about its size. Ifoma crossed her arms. "Do you want the job or not?" He laughed. "I want it, Auntie." "Good. You start Monday." By the end of the second year, Ife Connect had moved out of the container. A proper office space in Independence layout. Clean walls, a reception desk. 2 more staff, a young woman named Chioma who handled accounts, and a quiet, efficient young man named Tobe who managed deliveries and logistics. They had expanded from data reselling into bulk SMS services and corporate telecom solutions. They were not large, but they were real. They were standing. Ifoma sat behind her desk on the day they moved into the new office and ran her hand along the surface of it. Wood, solid, hers, and felt something she had not felt in a very long time. She felt like herself. Adeze, now 2 years and 1 month old, toddled around the office, pointing at everything and saying, "Mama, work," in a proud, proprietary voice that made Chioma laugh every single time.
It was a Thursday afternoon when Chioma knocked on the office door. "Ma," she said carefully, "there is a woman in reception. She says she has a personal matter. She is looking for an employment connection for her son." Ifeoma did not look up immediately from the document she was reviewing. "What does she look like?" she asked. Chioma described her. The room was quiet for a moment. "Ask her to have a seat," Ifeoma said calmly. "Tell her I am in a meeting. I will be with her shortly." Chioma nodded and closed the door. Ifeoma put down her pen. She leaned back in her chair and looked at the ceiling. 2 years. 2 years of a one-room apartment, of Aries sick on a mattress on the floor, of a container shop in the rain, of phone calls that went to voicemail, of just give it time. 2 years of waking before the sun and sleeping after midnight, and building and building and building with her own 2 hands what no one had thought to help her build. And now Lolo Ngozi Okafor was sitting in her reception. Ifeoma sat with that for 45 minutes. She sat with it until she knew what kind of woman she was going to be when she walked through that door. Not the woman who had stood in a bedroom at midnight holding a baby while someone told her she had no right to remain. Not the woman from that taxi making silent promises in the dark. The woman she was now. She stood up, smoothed her blazer, and walked out. Lolo Ngozi was sitting in one of the reception chairs, upright, composed, wearing a good wrapper and head tie. But her hands were folded too tightly in her lap, the hands of someone performing a calm they did not entirely feel. She looked up when she heard footsteps, and Ifeoma watched it happen, the recognition moving across the older woman's face in stages, like weather crossing water. First confusion, then shock, then something that was not quite shame, but was close enough to it. "Ifeoma," she said quietly. "Good afternoon, Ma," Ifeoma said warmly. "I picked up the glass of water from the small table beside the chair, the one Chioma had placed there earlier, and set it down closer to Lolo Ngozi's hand." Lolo Ngozi looked at the glass. She looked at Ifeoma, at the blazer, at the office, at the nameplate on the reception desk, at the staff moving purposefully in the background. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes for just one moment glistened. "I did not know it was your office. Emeka's brother, Chidi. He is looking for work in telecoms. Someone mentioned Ife Connect. I did not—" She stopped. "I did not know." "It's all right, Ma," Ifeoma said simply. "Tell me about Chidi. What has he studied?" And Lolo Ngozi told her, and Ifeoma listened, not with the ears of a woman with a debt to collect, but with the quiet, steady attention of a woman who had learned that bitterness is a weight you carry alone. She could not place Chidi at Ife Connect. His qualifications were not the right fit. But she wrote 2 names on a card, 2 business owners she knew personally who were hiring. She handed the card to Lolo Ngozi across the reception desk. The older woman took it. She held it for a moment, and then she said something that she clearly had not planned to say, something that came up from a deeper place than pride usually allows. "You have done well, Ifeoma," she said softly. "Truly." Ifeoma smiled. "Thank you, Ma. Safe journey home." She didn't need revenge. She never needed revenge. She just needed to live long enough and work hard enough for the people who threw her away to walk through a door one day and see with their own eyes exactly what they had thrown. The Igbo say, "Onye wetera oji, wetera ndu." The one who brings cola brings life. But they also say something quieter, something for the ones who were left with nothing and built anyway. What your hands build in silence, no mouth can take from you. Ifeoma knew this. She had learned it not from a book, but from a one-room apartment, a plastic cup on a tile floor, a container shop in the rain, and a Thursday afternoon when she carried a glass of water across a room she owned and offered it with a smile to the woman who had once told her she had no right to remain. Now, if this story sat with you, I want you to do something for me. Drop a comment below and tell me, what would you have done in Ifeoma's place? Would you have helped her or let her find her own way? I read every single one, and your answers always move me. And if you are new here, welcome. Stay close, because the next story coming to this channel is one that has been sitting with me for a while. It is about a man who walked away from a good woman because he thought he had found better. And the day he truly understood what he had lost, it was already too late to undo it. Until then, remember this: build in silence. Let the results make the noise.